Simon says subscribe and click on the bell icon to receive notifications.
In the last lesson, we discussed the regular selection tool, and that allows us to select an entire object, move it around, and rotate it and resize it. Now, in this lesson, we're going to talk about the direct selection tool, and it tells you here, select and adjust anchor points and segments to reshape paths. So when you create shapes, when you are drawing out vector graphics, they are known as paths. And there are all kinds of different points throughout that allow you to manipulate it called anchor points. So let's just choose our direct selection tool, and then I'm going to select my object. I want you to notice that all throughout this object are these little blue dots. These little blue dots are our anchor points, and easily I can then manipulate them. So if I simply click there, I want you to notice how that gets activated, and I have these little handles that appear. These are known as our Bezier handles. They are named after the person who invented this. So I'm just going to click on this middle one right there, and then just simply click and drag to then move it in a variety of different ways. Let me go ahead and click on this one, and this time instead of clicking and dragging, I'm going to use my arrow keys on my keyboard to just give it a little nudge up. And I'll go ahead and do this one, and I'm going to select it. Notice it's now solid blue where the other ones are hollow. That's Illustrator's way of telling me that it has in fact been selected. And this time I'm going to go left, and just notice it's going 1 pixel at a time. But this time I'm going to hold down the Shift key with my arrows, and then it goes 10 pixels at a time. So this is going to allow me to have all kinds of different creative control over my illustrations. This time let's go ahead and click on this one. Then notice how this is now solid where the rest. Let me click away. Notice how now this one is solid, and now I can click and drag on this and have a very different shape very quickly. So let's come back to here. Different shape, but still a shape nonetheless. Using my direct selection tool, I'm going to click on this guy. So now notice how this is all made up of anchor points. So if I wanted to be a little bit more creative with this, I could simply click on that one anchor point, and again, noticing how this is a solid blue where all the rest are hollow, and I can very easily click and drag on it. Now Illustrator is giving me a little bit of feedback that my mouse is right on top of it as I do that, because it can be very easy to miss it in case you try to click on it and you're not understanding why it's not working. So you'll notice that as I mouse over it, I'm getting a tiny little square right beneath my arrow to tell me that I'm right on it. Notice I'm not. Now I am. So I simply click and drag, and bam, there I am. Now, some of these are going to have the option to adjust what's known as the curve. Okay, so let's go ahead and just take a look. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm just going to do Control or Command minus, and holding down my space bar, I'm clicking and dragging. And I'm just going to simply click on this, and then now select this. This is a curve. As a result of being a curve, I get the Bezier handle that I can now click and drag to then adjust that curve. I can go up and down. I can also go to the right to make it wider. And I can also go to the left to make it more narrow. Do you see that? How it's changing the slope of the curve. So I just want to make it a little bit more bulbous. I can do that. Let's do the same thing on this side. Okay, I'll do that. Click and drag. And I just want you to see here, that's now going to be a very different shape as a result, giving me full control over how I want to work with that shape. When you are working with non-curves, or you're working with these little corners, you are not going to get those little Bezier handles. Okay, this one has a half Bezier because it curves into this one, but down below it does not, so there's only half a Bezier. So just understanding that. Clicking on this, no Bezier. I click and drag on that, and then I can very easily move it around. One thing you will notice, though, is that for some of these, particularly the corners, you are going to see things like this. Okay? This is going to give us the option to convert it from a hard corner into a curve. So if I move my mouse on top of it, you're going to see Illustrator is communicating to me with that little sort of curved icon. Now watch what happens when I click and drag on that. I can now change that shape. So it's now gone from being a corner into a curve, and both of these now should have little Bezier handles associated with them, and then I can even adjust it if I wanted to, going in whatever different direction. Okay, so really a lot of control to work with these. Later on, we're going to learn how to create some of these things from scratch. You're going to learn how to use the pen tool, and the pen tool and the direct selection tool work nicely with each other because one is going to allow you to create it and the other one is going to allow you to manipulate it. So the direct selection tool allows us to select what already exists and then reframe and redirect and modify those shapes. All right, so one of the more common tools that you'll be using, especially if you're going to be doing illustration.
If you're not a subscriber, click down below to subscribe so you get notified about similar videos we upload. To see the full course that this video came from, click over there. And click over there to see more videos from Simon Says It.